Hey everybody, Jace again, back with the Civic. Today we're going to be replacing the inner and outer tie rods so that we can get her to the alignment shop and get her a proper alignment. So without further ado, let's get to it. Now that we have the car up in the air, you can get the wheels off. Once you get the wheels off, you can get to tie rods and pull them out. Once we get those out, you can get the new ones in and run into the alignment shop to get full alignment. Now that we got the wheel and tire off, we got the steering wheel turned all the way to the left, so I have a little more space to work on the passenger side. There's a cotter pin that comes out from the top of this nut. I already pulled it. See, it's a little bit rusted and worse for wear. This is a 19mm nut. I got it run up pretty much all the way to the top here. Now I'm going to take a hammer. I'm going to beat this down to break this loose. And somehow we need to separate this from this. So right now these two are seized together. So once we figure out a way to separate these, we can get the outer or inner tie rod out, replaced on this side, and then we're redoing this process again on the driver's side. So I got this broken loose. It only took about 3 or 4 hits. And you get this nut off now, and then we will get to trying to figure out a way to separate these. And alright, so we've got this separated now. Normally you would loosen up this jam nut, which I do have loose right now, and you would spin the outer tie rod off of the inner tie rod so you get better access to the inner tie rod to remove it. Like I said before, these are seized together, so I can't do that. I've got this clamp taken off. There's a clamp way in the back. It's kind of hard to see, but back here on the back end of the boot, there's a clamp back there as well that we need to remove. Right. It's kind of hard to see from here. You look right about here. You see a little metal piece right there. That's the clamp that needs to come off of the back side. That's the tightening spot for it. You gotta kind of spread that apart so the clamp will come loose. And once that comes loose, then you can pull this boot off. Alright, so we got both sides out. Kind of see in there's nothing holding that side together. And come around to the other side. See, there's nothing holding this side together. So now we just need to wait for the wife to get back from picking up the boys from school. And we can run to the store, pick up the new parts. We'll get her put back together. Alright, so we just got back from the store, got the new parts. We already got the driver's side installed. You can see we got the new inner tie rod, new outer tie rod. We already got the this thing, whatever its name is. We already got that in there. Got to tighten down this, which is already relatively tight. And then we'll get the passenger side done. And tomorrow morning we will get her dropped off to get an alignment. Alright, so we got all the tie rods, put it back in the car. Got the wheels back on, took it for a little test drive around the neighborhood. Just feel a lot better, a little bit tighter. But that's all we can do for tonight. So I'll be back with you tomorrow after we drop it off at the shop. So we got the Civic back from the shop today. Dropped it off to get an alignment. The shop I dropped it off at is Revline KC. They used to have an alignment machine, they no longer do. So they actually sent the car to Firestone, which unfortunately, well, they don't know how to do proper alignments as far as a race spec goes, or track spec. So the camber is still the same all the way around pretty much from when we sent it to them. 3 degrees and 2.5 degrees in the front, it's still the same. The only thing that kind of changed a little bit was the right rear. Went up to 3 from 2.8, which still isn't a huge amount, but they fixed the toe, which was 1/4 degree off in the front. Now we're at 0.0 degrees in the front. And the rear toe had quite a decent amount of toe out, and now we've just got a tiny bit of toe in. So now I at least have what the specs are currently, and I can do a little more adjusting on my own to get it where I want. But for now, the toe is proper, and we'll go from there. Today we're going to be finishing off the alignment. Right here, taking a few measurements. Currently sitting right around 24 and 3 1/4, 24.5 inches on all corners from ground to fender. So the rear, I'm gonna go 24 and 3/4. So we need to raise up the passenger side a little bit. On the front, we're gonna go down to 24.5, or as close as we can get. And then hopefully the rubbing in the rear will stop when we get there. So I'm gonna get the car up off the ground and bring you back. Now we have the Civic up in the air, got the wheels and tires off. We can start getting in here into the suspension, breaking these loose down here, adjusting the suspension to lower it, while also adjusting our camber bolt, since our camber plates are maxed out, to try and get a little bit more camber. So we need to do this on both front sides. The rear passenger is good, but the rear driver, we need to get in here, take this bolt out here, and adjust this in just a little bit to get about 1 degree more camber, and then we'll be looking pretty good on our overall setup. So we got the height adjusted on this side, hopefully the correct mount. But now we need to adjust the camber a little bit. Right now, well, we know this side is sitting at 2.6 degrees. So we're going to set this just about there. Your angle is a little bit worse than mine. This thing isn't very accurate, but it gets us close. So now we're gonna break free this bolt and the lower one. We're gonna try and get a little more camber out of this, and then we'll go over to the next side. So as you can see, we started out at 2.6 negative 2.6 degrees of camber. We're getting a lot closer. It's kind of hard to tell with this light here. Right here, there's 4 degrees. We're just shy of 4 degrees, so we're about probably 3.8, 3.9 degrees negative camber in the front passenger. So now we're going to move over to the front driver and do the same over there as well. So we got the front done, got the wheels put back on, not completely yet, just in case we need to make some more adjustments. We only put 3 lug nuts on, but we'll get to that later. Both sides are down, lowered about 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch on both sides, added a substantial amount of camber. We're looking probably around 4 degrees both sides now, maybe a little bit more on the drivers. May pull that out after we're done here, but we'll double check later. Here we raised up just a hair. Shouldn't have needed too much since we lowered the opposite corner on the front driver. And now we're over here to the back side, on the driver's side. We just need to add a little bit of camber. We're about 2 degrees right now. We need to get to right at 3. So we need to remove this bolt over here. And then we'll adjust this, put it all back together, and see where she's at. So as you can see, just that little bit of adjustment there put us right at, focus, right at 3 degrees of camber here, which is perfect. Now we're gonna tighten everything up, put the back down, and take some measurements on all 4 corners and see where we're sitting. All right, so we got the car all put down on the ground. So far everything looks like it's more evenly spaced front to rear, and camber looks substantially better side to side. So we're gonna take it for a quick drive, help settle the suspension in, take a few measurements, and see where we're at. So now we're gonna go around the car and take some measurements, so floor to fender, and see where we're sitting at, and then we're going to kind of get a quick check on the camber. So start with, we're going to be on the passenger front. We're sitting right at 24.5 inches. It's right where we want it. Let's get a little extra light going here. There we go. Driver's side, we're sitting right at 24.5 inches as well, which is exactly where we want to be. Now onto the rear, we're sitting a little high on this side at just under, well, let's see here, actually get it right where we want it. Actually, that's spot on, almost at 24 3/4. And then we go back to the final corner and right at 24 3/4. So actually, first try, we nailed every corner on the height. Now that we got all the heights correct, you need to go through and check the camber as well. And then once we check the camber, as long as that's correct, we are done setting up the suspension. So, be right back once I get the camber gauge. So, this isn't going to be exactly accurate because, well, I'm not going onto the hub at ride height, but it'll give us, at least get us close. We're showing right about 3 3/4 degrees there. About between 3 3/4 and 4 degrees. On the driver's side, we're seeing a little bit more at about 4 1/4, which we can pull that out just a little bit using the camera plates up top instead of going down below. Let's get it even here. This is showing 2, which doesn't seem correct, but this is also not exactly the most accurate of ways to do this. We're showing 2 here as well, which means we're actually sitting at 3 across the back. And almost a degree more on the front as well, on each side. So we ended up real close to where we wanted. We have 24 3/4 inches on both sides in the rear, 24.5 inches on the front from ground to lip. We ended up somewhere around -4 degrees front on both sides. We're a little bit more on the front left, which we can pull out, that's not a big deal. And then the rear, we're both sitting at -3 degrees, which is exactly what we wanted. Now that the alignment is taken care of and she's sitting properly, alignment pretty well dialed in, should be able to get her to the track here soon. I think there's a autocross day coming up here in the next like 3 weeks that we're going to try and get to, so hopefully we'll get to that and then see if she needs any more dialing in. See you guys next time.